bolstering our roster here at A3. Of course, we've got Christine Cupo, but we've got LaBonta hanging with us, friend of the show. I mean, Bud, we haven't seen you since the NWSL final. Have you been busy?
Oh,
You haven't
oh
been
my
busy.
God. Honestly, I was doing so well till you brought up the final. Hold on. I wasn't ready for that. Oh my gosh. The final was great, obviously, but I just forgot that I wasn't actually playing in it. But thank you for the reminder.
I know. I'm really sorry about that. We're not here to bring up old stuff, but
Although
starting
there
off
was a whole lot of teal in that stadium. I'm just saying.
Right? It was great. Like we just did a launch the other day with our president of our team, and she was talking about being at the final, and a lot of the Kansas City fans were like, obviously we wanted our team in it, but we're still gonna show out for this sport, this league. So I was like, I love that. But can we just
Mhm.
host again, please, so we can potentially be there?
Well, it's not announced yet where it is in 2025. So
Bro, we just got our schedule too, probably. So that will probably come July, August, I don't know.
but the potential's still out there for KC to host again. Probably not this year, but I wouldn't put it past them in the next year or two. You guys
Surely
could see it come back. So you had a little bit of an off season, I hope. I hope you had
a
time to
little.
like
Yeah.
stop running every day, sit in the sun, relax, not think about football, or maybe watch it for fun, play a little for fun.
Yeah, I am going into my 11th season, which is wild. But for my off season, I tend to not do anything. I go to a beach, I go scuba diving, anything other than soccer. Actually, I just realized my husband and I like juggle on the sand, like on the beach. So it doesn't count. That's like a size 4 ball. But yeah, full reset physically, mentally. That's why I'm so excited for this upcoming season.
Oof, as are we. We already got a little bit of a taste. We did a little bit because we had the NWSL Challenge Cup, in which instead of it being the Shield winner against the final, it ended up being Orlando against Washington, a rematch of the 2024 final. Ultimately, Washington won 4-2 on penalties. Chris, you and I, we did a recap show. We basically broke down everything about it. And Christine, we got to see a little bit of what we expect from Washington and Orlando in this season to come.
For sure. I think if anything, we saw a little bit of a glimmer of depth from Washington that I don't know that I expected to see quite yet, especially preseason Challenge Cup ball with so many of their starters just unavailable to put up such a fight against Orlando with them remaining largely unchanged. Again, we saw some returns from injury, Rafaele. We saw some debuts with Rebecca Bernal, which was exciting, but I I don't know. It was very NWSL for a Challenge Cup because of course it could have gone either way.
In some of those debuts, one of them being Bernal, Rebecca Bernal for Washington Spirit. She plays as a center back. We talked about maybe seeing her a little higher up the pitch, but we also got to see Narumi, her first time in a Washington kit, playing in the midfield with the Spirit. And Lo, you know her very well from playing against her at North Carolina. And now to see her at a Washington team under a Spanish coach with a Japanese style of tiki taka that Narumi plays, this is going to change her game. This is going to change how Washington plays as well, right?
10,000%. I think two of the best signings that the Spirit could have made in the offseason, especially with Narumi in there. When she was at North Carolina, they're constantly pressing, they're going hard. Here, I think it will free her up a little to get more on the ball, go forward. I'm kind of scared since I'm going to have to defend it, and she's going to be partnering up with Croy Bethune later, hoping she gets back on the field. Like I told Croy this. I was like, bro, I was your biggest fan last year. I wasn't going to say it throughout the year because you didn't need any motivation, but bro, you're so good and you're so deadly in there. So her pairing up with Nairumi and then Bernal coming in the midfield, they signed experience for this reason. And I believe that's why they were able to get it through the line and win that Challenge Cup game.
Yeah,
Narumi
I was
being
really excited about Bernal in particular, and I was sort of advocating to see her, not necessarily because I don't know that I see her as maybe getting the start as a center back, but I feel like maybe if you slot her up into an 8 or a 6, she could really wreck some teams,
and if you put Bernal in the 6, Narumi can go higher. And
A
that's
which
just
is where
not
she's
100%.
better.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are talking all the right tactics right now, but that is what coaches say, right, is the best problem to have as a head coach. You know, she could be at the center back. She can come in the midfield and get these other players to capitalize on their true strengths. And I'm so glad you guys are bringing up because I'm going to bring this to my team scout because we actually play them in a couple weeks. But you know, like that's such a good problem to have, and that's what I love is when teams have depth. We have so many games throughout the year that seeing these players out there, the rotations are just going to make the game so much more exciting.
Low using attacking third episodes as like scouting.
Yeah, heck, I'm gonna use low as a springboard for myself. No cap. Okay, like for real. So one of the things that we talked about when we did the full unpacking of the Challenge Cup that I sort of it resonated with me is what we're seeing is this trend toward these hyper versatile players now, especially in NWSL. As a vet of the game now, your 11th season. Obviously ball evolves. What do you make of sort of these like hyper versatile where you have a player that's both left back, right wing, changing tactically mid game? Do you think that that's just the way that NWSL are moving as this super athletic league right now, or is this something that's going to be a mainstay?
I want to say you're always going to have a variety of players. You're going to have players that are very good at one thing, and no one is better at that one thing than them. So you're going to need to have that player be that. When you have these versatile players, I think it creates this unpredictability when you come to play them because you know, like you said, you can be in the midfield, you can be at the left back. I'm not that player, but I've had to be versatile. You know, in the midfield, I've played the 10, the 6, the 8. I can tell you which one I prefer to play, but there's something that my coach wants me to play, and I'm willing to play that role. And that's something I think teams and players in this league have embraced because they want to be on the field because these games are crazy. You never know what you're going to get in a game. You think you know what you're going to get, but it's the NWSL and you don't know until you see it.
You could say that about any league, though, I think to some extent, right? Players want to play, or any industry, even like you want to work, you want to play, you want to be on the pitch. So if playing a certain role or fitting into a little bit of a positional box at times to get on the pitch is what it takes. We see players doing that. And that's why it's funny you say, Lo, like I can tell you where I prefer to play. That's a theme, right? You think of Crystal Dunn with the US women's national team, like she was and is the starting left back. But if you ask her, I mean, now at PSG, she's going to play a little bit higher. She wants to play higher, but she's not going to say to a US head coach, no, I don't want to play in the left back. I would rather play higher up the pitch. It's all about fitting into that hole in that mold, which probably is frustrating at times. If you're trying to be one player and you think you're succeeding in one position, but you're then being forced to be in a different role. But that is across the NWSL what we're seeing, different players really slotting into different roles. And when you can't expect it as opposition, it's hard to go against them. But even as a coach, you could look at one player and think one thing, but try them out in training and something different. Like Bay FC, they're having Joelle Anderson, who has been a midfielder for a lot of her career, playing as one of the three center backs at times for Bay FC in some of their preseason matches. It's a lot of interchange across the league and everywhere with players. It can be a pro, can be a con, I think, to some of their development at times.
Yeah, I can only say, you know, it's the top level. Again, you're gonna want to be on that field. I could see how it's frustrating probably all of preseason. You train one position, someone gets hurt, and then you have to fill that role. You see that a lot happening, but you also will see movements of players. We were just having a tactical talk, what ifs, and a lot of the times you want players who are very good on the ball as your center back because they're the ones that start the attack. So I'm also thinking of Emily Sands, for example. She's a center back, but at the start of this game, she was an outside back. So you want to be on the field and you're going to adjust to the tactical decision wherever the coach wants you. And when you get asked about it in media, my only recommendation is that's a coach's question. He's the one that makes that at the end of the day. There you go. Talk to him.
Maybe we'll start on your on low, like a little segment of like how players can talk to media and answer questions they don't want to.
I don't know if I'm your best bet, but I'll tell you what I would do. What would Lo do?
Listen, I
Honestly,
feel like you are our best bet, or at least the most
smart.
fun bet, okay?
Yes, fun. Smart, I don't know. Fun, yes.
WWLD, what would Lo do? What would
And then
Lo
do
do?
the opposite.
With this Challenge Cup, it was the first game of the season. Now there's a 1 week break, and then we get the regular season. And I mean, the teams are essentially still in preseason. It's almost a competitive trophy on the line warm up, but it's also the fifth iteration low that we have seen of this Challenge Cup. Now, I'm sure you could pick your favorite of all of them, from the bubble to playing it Shield versus champion, playing it in the final rematch, but the timeline isn't ideal for players by any means.
Absolutely not. I can tell you because obviously the game was later. So in our team group chat, we were like, oh my God, can you imagine being out there right now playing this competitive game? We had practice that day, and then the next day we actually had an inter squad scrimmage, but that's still different than being out there competing against another NWSL team. Preseason was a little longer this year. I think you could see the effects of it already with Spirit, with so many of their players that were out. They had to sign a bunch of replacement players, but I don't know. I know physically I would not be ready for that game. I must get ready because, at the end of the week, I have the first game of the season. But, it just shows power to that team. I think that theme from Friday night, the Challenge Cup game, is kind of going to be what you see in this upcoming weekend of games. But I just hope, everybody is healthy. There's in the soccer coaching world, it's called periodization. And I hope they figure that out. The whole league, you never want people out. I hope people stay healthy because at the end of the day, that's what brings us the great games.
We do get the kickoff of the season, and those great games are bound to happen immediately. I mean, even Kansas City, Portland, if it's anything like the 2024 game between these guys, like, Lo, can we
Woo!
expect 9 games? Like, let's go.
Oh my goodness. I was just thinking about that game, because you know who messaged me was Kelly Hubley. Obviously, she was on Portland and on BFC now, but our team posted like 5 more days to the game, something like that. And Kelly is on the ground after someone had just scored on her. And I was like, bro, what were you doing down there? She goes, I don't know. I blacked out that game. And I go, yeah, man, there was no defense that game. 9 goals. Wild.
So, Christine, you have Casey scoring a lot of goals again this year, being top of the standings, would you say?
Like, you would have to be an absolute idiot to think that there would not be an immense amount of goals. The number of goal scoring possibilities and goal scorers even last season, that's not gonna change. It's only gonna get crazier, in my opinion. So, yeah, right now they're sitting, obviously way too early predictions, in the top 3 again this season for me.
You like that,
Love
Lo?
that. I love that. But I also love when you're like, Casey's scoring a lot. I'm just gonna put out there Temwa Chawinga scoring a lot. Like, let's be honest.
Okay, so how yes, Temwa Chawinga is scoring a lot. This offseason, we got the news that Temwa Chawinga had signed a contract extension through 2028. How much did the team celebrate after that
I
happened?
honestly, we knew, she needed to stick around. We were finally grateful when, front office made that sign and we're like, let's go. They know, like, give her her money. She deserves it all. MVP in her first season here. Let's run it back. Golden boot again. She's a special human being. And I think when a team rallies around a person like that, they're special. Everybody wants her back here. The city wants her back here. Probably NWSL wants her here
Mhm.
always. So I'm beyond grateful for that. I'm coming up on contract, so I'm hoping I'm gonna check out her contract, take a couple notes from that.
Like, I'll
But
take
yeah,
paragraph 3 through 5.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, Kansas City this year, they're going to be at the top of the table running through it. But it's this opening weekend, we get to see a little bit of rivalry action with Angel City, San Diego. We get to see the two expansion sides, Bay and Utah, go at each other. And I'm curious, is there a KC rival? People are trying to make the water debate happen between San Diego Wave and the Current. There's the barbecue happening, right, with Kentucky, with Texas, with Kansas City. You're shaking your head low. Is there a Kansas City rival in the NWSL so far?
I think it's so funny when, marketing tries to force a
Uh,
rivalry and make that happen. I can tell you who I think our rivals are, and it's usually the teams in the Midwest. I think for us, now that we have some structure to our scheduling where it's a home and away game, back in the day, it used to be you play one team once, but you play another team 6 times. So, like, those would be your rivals because you're constantly seeing that team. So, I would say usually it tends to be Chicago and Houston, maybe even Louisville a little. But for me, a rivalry is when, some people win, or you win sometimes, you lose sometimes against that same team. So I would say it's those. But yeah, I don't know how we got a water rivalry with San Diego. Like, I don't know. Some of these don't make sense to me.
It sounds kind of lame. I'm not gonna lie. You're like, ooh, the water rivalry. We're gonna get you. Like,
Yeah.
what?
I'm like, bro, I'll take the Pacific Ocean any day.
You're like, I'm with y'all. I don't understand what the issue
yeah.
is. This is the one-sided beef. I do have to ask because you did bring up Temwa. Have you coached her on future celebrations this season? Because she's so humble, but when she celebrates, I get so excited.
Right? I'm like, bro, this is your 97th goal. Can you please celebrate it finally? Um, no, but I would say I've tried to get a few out of her. We had to shoot a couple promo videos this preseason, and I got her to dance with me a little, which is so exciting. But I do think her one of our teammates, her best friend on the team, Jericho, they've been doing these dances and TikToks, and I'm like, you guys, I better see that out on the field. So if she does something, it's usually probably coming from Jericho.
Oh,
Oh,
so that's
sorry, let me go
the
get on my
inspo.
TikTok and
Yeah.
find them.
You
I
will
obviously
find,
have been
oh
behind.
my gosh. Yeah. No, they're great. I see them like doing these dances. I was like, oh, I wish I had that much swag. But as long as they're dancing and celebrating, I'm a fan.
No,
Well,
you
you're pretty
do. Are you
swaggy.
kidding?
Oh, thank you. But I'm not MVP swaggy. So it's
You
Listen,
are
something to
Skelly
strive
Queen
for, okay?
Saggy. You are Skelly Queen Swaggy
oh,
though.
thank you. Thank you.
Lo, this is sick. This is awesome. We'll see you again. You'll be on A3 all the time, right?
Oh yeah, if I make the cut after today.
You're
We'll
in as far
see.
as I'm concerned. Whoever I have to strong arm, don't worry.
Yeah. I would love to I know you would have my back. So I feel good about that one. And
Yes.
Lisa too. You always text me. So I love working with you too.
Christine's a bulldog. She'll fight for you
Yeah,
when she
let's
needs
go.
to. It's the best.
It's
Lo, good
true.
luck with NWSL this weekend. We're watching. We're cheering for you.